Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers here today. I'm Fiona Langsharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning. Now, today we are sitting down with Joe Gilpin and we're going to be talking about our Gold Lactation Conference coming up. I know many of you are looking forward to joining us online this year. And to kick off that conference, you remember that we are having our keynote on March 30th. Now, I've been talking about our keynote coming up here just around the corner, but that is a really important day because we're going to have open access and free content for you. And I know many of you will want to join us for that. Brenna Sampe is going to be here. She'll be actually presenting twice that day. So you can put it on your calendar, and whatever time zone you're in, I know you'll be able to join us. Now, if you're working or if you're busy that day, be sure to tune in for the recording. It will be there at your convenience. You'll be able to go to our website at goldlactation.com and register right now for the keynote and of course for the rest of our conference. Now, we do have one of our guests here today, one of our speakers, Joe. She is going to be part of that full conference registration, and I know that you're not going to want to miss out. When you hear what she's talking about, this is of course one of the topics that really hits home for many lactation consultants and people that work in the birth field. And I already warned Joe today that I was pretty riled up about this topic. It just gets me going when we talk about it, but it's such an important topic. We're still trying to navigate so many things in this area. And really, as I would like to say, Joe, you really wrote the book on this, I think, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Fiona. Yes, look, I did. I've worked as a midwife, child health nurse, and lactation consultant for many years. And I really came to the conclusion that so much of breastfeeding issues, because that's who I seem to see so many breastfeeding challenges, and they seem to develop from the birth or mother's interpretation of the birth. And I just seem to just realize that so many of these things could have been avoided. These difficulties could have been avoided with earlier antenatal support and information. So that's why I've really pulled everything together just to try to make breastfeeding easier for women and in this book. So I'm hoping that it does help whoever gets hold of it. Yes,
Absolutely.
Fiona.
Of course, absolutely. That information is really imperative to so many people, professionals and families alike. And I know that that's something that, of course, you were very passionate about. But let's just wind it back a little bit. You may have heard in Joe's accent there, it doesn't quite sound like mine. So I know that you're going to probably guess where she's from, but let's have her describe where she actually lives because it is a little bit unique. I'd love to come and visit one day, Joe, but why don't you describe to everyone exactly where you are in the world and sort of what does your
Yeah,
day-to-day look like right now when you're practicing?
right. Look, I live with my husband on an island just south of South Australia. It's about 11 nautical miles off the coast. So we get back and forth by ferry. It's an island of about 4,500 people, so not very big, but it is absolutely stunningly beautiful. So there's lots of lovely activities like fishing and walking, and it's a lot of beautiful food, and it's a very environmentally friendly place.
Sure.
So it's a really lovely place to live. And as far as my work goes, I've lived on the mainland Australia, mainly, and it's only the last few years that I've been living here. So my workload has actually changed quite considerably. Much of my work now is by phone with breastfeeding, answering breastfeeding questions and that sort of thing, and a little bit of Skype work.
Sure.
But the births on the island, there's only about 45 per year. And I find that the midwives over here are fantastic. And so they're really, which is wonderful. And
Yeah.
so we don't seem to have too many breastfeeding issues at all, not like
Wow.
on mainland Australia.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
I was gonna ask that, living on that small island, and you said just over 4,000 people, does it come with unique challenges or does it come with unique blessings? Because it sounds like, according to you, the what's happening with 45 births a year, which is not a huge number for a lot of people, they're doing many more.
Mm.
But because they have such immense support there, it sounds like they're doing pretty well.
Yes, I think that they are doing pretty well. There's not many issues at all, really.
Hmm.
And as I said, the midwives over here that do the work from the base in Kingscote, which is the main town, they
Right.
do a wonderful job. Yep.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, tell me a little bit about, you talked a little bit about your book, and it is about, birth interventions and, breastfeeding outcomes.
Mm.
But tell me about what really got you to the point where you thought, okay, there needs to be more information about this. This is something that you're very passionate about. When did it all happen for you that you just said, I've got to get this onto paper because
Yes.
it's like it's bursting inside you, Joe?
Yeah. Well, I think it really, really came from years of working as a child health nurse and seeing women with their new babies and really helping them or trying to help them navigate through those early weeks. And
Hmm.
it was just so obvious that if they'd had better information and support before they'd had their babies, and then and after as well, um, it would make it so much easier, and that many of these issues would have been totally avoided altogether. And I also felt the grief of many of the women who just couldn't make it or had gone so far with formula or their
Hmm.
problems that things couldn't be reversed. And that grief of not breastfeeding is really quite something it's
Yeah.
unpleasant and really affects life. Um,
Hmm.
and I guess that's the main reason why I really, after so many years of dealing with so many different situations, I really wanted to pull it all together and just make it a lot easier and to really help parents or women and their partners to be more confident with breastfeeding
Mm,
and more
yeah.
positive. Mm. And I also wanted to draw in other members of the family, like specifically partners,
Hmm.
so that they were on board. And so that there's a lot of my education or what I talk about
Right.
um, is really related to the family or the partnership as
Sure.
well. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Mm.
That's really wonderful. As you were talking through there, I was just thinking about the layers and layers of things that really do impact the outcomes that we're seeing today. Because let's face it, cesarean birth has been around for quite a considerable amount of time now, and it's increasing in numbers. I know you talk about that in your presentation, but the some of the normal factors too, the grief that we see. I was speaking with a client the
Mm.
other day, Joe, and she had taken on someone else's grief, prior to
Mm.
even giving birth, and saying, I don't want to go through that. I'm not going to go through that, so I'm not going to struggle with breastfeeding. I'm just going to switch over to formula if it
Mm.
suits me, or so that I don't have to experience that.
Mm.
So isn't that interesting that we have this cultural shift where the sharing of stories, can have an impact on the next generation of pregnant people breastfeeding. And so have you seen some of that happen as well culturally?
Oh, absolutely. One thing leads to another, really.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
women, they hear things from all sorts of different directions, and it has such an influence on
Hmm.
what they think and how they think it'll be different for them, or they'll know everything about what to do when they have a baby. Yeah, I find that there's a lot of ignorance out there, and if only there was better information, good basic information that people actually understand. And I think
Hmm.
that in part of my book, or most of my book, is really talking as if I'm talking to wonderful women and their families. about
Mm,
breastfeeding, so that it's very low key and easy to understand. And I
right.
think
Yeah.
that's going to make a difference. I hope it's very low tech.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the key things too. I can the words that I was expressing to a family of the day is that, it's not as complicated
Mm,
as we think. However, we do need to have this strong awareness, confidence in what we're doing. And I think that that's culturally, that's where we've had some of a shift
mm,
because we know statistically what families um, are going to have during a birth experience. And a lot of them choose to have interventions. And I think that's, choice is important to me,
mm,
as it is to you, Joe. I
absolutely.
mean,
Yep.
it's important. However, if
So
you make a
important.
choice, yeah, I want you to know what you might be experiencing on the other side of that so that you can then counter that. So
Mm,
those things are important as well, just to give back that confidence as well,
mm.
correct?
Yes, I think it's very important for women to feel empowered,
Mm,
actually to be included, and very, very important, because basically the outcome of it all, you want a woman to feel as if she's really benefited from it, achieved, and feels good
mm-hmm,
about the experience, and then she can get on with the next part of breastfeeding or parenting.
mm-hmm,
uh, I mean, I think that birth is such a pivotal time in a woman's life. I mean, I talk to many women about um, their birthing experiences, and
mm-hmm,
even 80-year-olds will tell me in minute detail of who said what, um, and,
mm-hmm.
and what happened and how they felt. It's
Right.
just amazing, even
The
quite old,
details.
the
Yeah.
details, yeah, minute detail. So,
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And so I think there's an element of, stripping away all the complexities, getting it down to bare bones.
mm,
And I think even when we talk to, I don't know what your experience is, Joe, but when I talk to women today, they feel better about their birth and their breastfeeding experience when they feel like they participated in the choices surrounding, what the outcomes were. So, for example, if
yeah,
they chose to have an epidural, that they were well informed and that they were doing it with the information that was going to empower them versus disempower them, like you mentioned.
yeah,
And
yeah,
therefore, consequently, it was important because then it impacted their relationship with their baby and how they were going to move forward
absolutely.
and initiate breastfeeding, correct?
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's what I will talk about in my talk
Oh, good.
quite a bit, because I think that's terribly important. The
Great.
way a mother will feel about, even if she has an epidural, even if she has a cesarean, I think it's really
Yes.
important that she's included completely, and information will empower
Good.
her. And basically, you really do want an outcome of a mother feeling okay, feeling good,
Mhm.
and feeling happy to move on with a baby. Mm,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's really good. I'm imagining some families sitting in front of me right now and just, talking through those scenarios. And it's so interesting how, sometimes they do just put themselves, they just sort of turn themselves over and just hope for the best. But
mm,
when you start, teaching, and we can do that, you talked about doing antenatal care and teaching them in that time and
mm.
empowering them to make those decisions for themselves. I think we start to see them, their eyes get wider and they sort of get
Oh,
excited and feel like they
yes.
can they can do this, right?
That's the most wonderful thing with antenatal education, I think. Whenever you can talk to women that are about to have baby, the information that is so interesting, that they are really interested in, that they perhaps didn't really know. Um,
Yeah.
I just find it is absolutely enlightening. And so with that information, I think it really does encourage women to aim so much more to have a normal birth, because they know, not that they're scared. I mean, I'm sure that they will take the lead of their carers, but
Hmm.
and be sensible about that. But at least they have the information about doing things differently, or having a natural birth because of the gathering the mother's microbiome, and
Right.
or all sorts of things. Yeah,
Hmm.
the elements are endless of the advantages of a natural birth,
Absolutely.
really, if
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah,
Mm,
no, that's fantastic. Well, I knew that we were going to have, a good conversation today because I know you and I are both passionate in this area, and it's always
mm,
great chatting. Every time we come together, Joe, you and I have a really good conversation about this, and I know that we take it back to our clients and our peers and other professionals around the
mm.
world. So it's going to be great to have you here at Gold. Thank you so much for sitting down with me
Thank you.
today and just
Thanks,
talking about
Fiona.
this is so good, really, really good. And a quick
Yeah.
reminder, so all of you who are wondering, so Joe's going to be with us live, okay? So that's the first thing you need to know. So there is an opportunity there that you can interact with her online on the day when she's
Mm,
presenting. So that's going to be great. Now, she is going to be presenting on the 6th of April, but that's GMT time. So please go to your website because it might be different time for you. And I want to make sure that you get the time zone in as well. And you can just log into our website at goldlactation.com and check all the details of our conference. Of course, quick reminder, March 30th is the big day, our kickoff day for our Gold Lactation Conference this year. Lastly, just want to say that, with so many things going on, it's just so good to be focused, to remember our families and know that they're going to need
mm.
support wherever they are in the world, right, Joe? You and I talked about that just a few minutes
Absolutely.
ago. Yeah, they're
Absolutely.
going to need that continued support, and we can't wait to share all of this information with you listening in. If you've got any comments or questions for Joe, you can pop them in below, and we'll be looking online and interacting with you leading up to the conference. You can let us know what you think about interventions in birth, and what's happening in your area and how you've been able to support families going through the experience of birth, and what the outcomes look like for breastfeeding as well.
Mm.
So a very special thank you once again to Joe for being with us here today. And of course, to all of you, our viewers, thank you for tuning in once again. We can't wait to come back very soon with some more updates and, of course, some of our speakers from our Gold Lactation Conference. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks. Thanks, Fiona. Bye. Bye, everyone.